Hello, friend. You're on the American Stories channel. Here, real-life love stories come alive, amazing, touching, and sincere. Every story is a journey into a world of love, hope, and self-discovery. Dive into our tales, and maybe you'll find a piece of your own life in them. If you enjoy our stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support inspires us to share even more amazing stories. A dark night wrapped the poor district of Detroit. Lorraine stared out the window, holding her little son Kevin close. In her eyes, exhaustion and hope lived side by side. She'd grown used to sleeplessness, waiting for dawn after another night shift, counting every last dollar to buy milk or cereal. Her husband had left her before Kevin was born, leaving only pain and memories behind. Life battered her relentlessly, but giving up was never an option. Her son had become the very meaning of her existence. The city seemed to mock their poverty, crumbling walls, constant damp, shouts in the stairwell that often turned to sobs. Every evening, Lorraine whispered her prayer, "Lord, just give me strength to survive one more day." Kevin grew up in the shadow of those prayers, between bleak evenings and the warmth of his mother's arms. She often remembered her childhood dreams. She wanted to be a teacher, to travel, to help children. But fate took everything, except the faith that her son could have something better. Each morning, Lorraine skipped breakfast and rushed to her first job, mopping floors at a school. Then she cleaned at a hospital. At night, she worked as a waitress, carrying coffee for hours and listening to stories about other people's lives, lives that seemed unreachable for her. She'd come home late and often found Kevin with a book. He already read better than many kids his age. Fate tested Lorraine daily. She fought to keep her son away from the streets, away from the fate that swallowed so many neighborhood boys. The only wealth they had was their love for each other. Her pain and hope were woven together into a chain that kept her afloat. Lorraine didn't yet know that this struggle would one day change everything. Rain battered the windows when Kevin turned 7. There was no party, just a cup of tea and his mother's gentle smile. "Mama, why are we so poor?" he once asked, looking into her tired eyes. Lorraine squeezed his hand. "What matters is that we're together." She had no other way to explain why he had no toys, why he wore second-hand clothes, why food was something to ration. Lorraine's heart clenched with helplessness, but Kevin was a quiet, thoughtful child. Early on, he realized that his mother's love was the greatest treasure. She tried to make their world a little brighter, telling bedtime stories, singing, reading the Bible aloud. Sometimes it seemed even the cold walls grew warmer from her words. The problems never left. Rent was due every month, but there was never enough money. Hospitals, queues, a broken heater, all this became their normal. Lorraine learned not to complain. When it became unbearable, she'd climb up to the roof at night, looking at the stars and dreaming of a better life for Kevin. Even as a little boy, Kevin saw his mother's exhaustion. He promised himself, when he grew up, he'd become rich so his mother would never cry again. He saw neighbors drink themselves into numbness, teens dealing drugs, but he never let himself drift that way. "You're special, son," Lorraine would whisper, hugging him each night. Those words became his guiding light in a world that rarely showed kindness. Kevin's school years were anything but easy. He always wore the same outgrown pants his mom patched by hand. Classmates teased him, sometimes even hit him, but he stayed silent. At home, Lorraine waited, believing in him like no one else. She looked at his grades with pride, and he looked at her hard-working hands with gratitude. They shared a quiet, unbreakable courage. Lorraine denied herself everything. She bought no new clothes, ate little, just so Kevin could study. She took any side job, cleaning homes, caring for the elderly, doing laundry for pennies. There was no work she wouldn't do if it meant a chance for her son. Once, Kevin was beaten by neighborhood boys for standing up for a girl. Lorraine saw his bruises, and her heart broke, but instead of scolding, she just hugged him. "You did the right thing. Strength isn't about hurting. It's about protecting." She taught him to value justice. At night, Lorraine fell asleep holding Kevin's childhood photo, praying for his happiness. She believed love and faith would give him wings. Even when it was too hard, she never showed her weakness to her son. Kevin graduated from high school with honors. Lorraine cried tears of joy at his ceremony. He was the first in the family to achieve such a thing. She remembered their evenings by candlelight, doing homework together, his sacrifice of play for study. None of it was in vain. Thanks to a scholarship, Kevin entered university. For Lorraine, it was a miracle. She never believed their fate could change so much. She worked even harder, supporting him any way she could. Kevin missed his mom, but her calls and words always gave him strength. He quickly became one of the best students, found friends who valued his honesty and intelligence. His story inspired his professors, a boy from the poorest district, who didn't give up, but grew stronger. Kevin took odd jobs to help his mother, writing, working in the library, saving pennies to send her. Lorraine was prouder than ever. She was no longer so afraid for the future. Her son never betrayed his values. They often spoke about his dreams. Kevin wanted to build a business to help kids like himself. For Lorraine, the most important thing was that he remained a good person. Toward the end of college, Kevin faced new hardships. His scholarship was cut, side jobs dried up, and his mother fell gravely ill. She could no longer work, and Kevin felt guilty. Sometimes he went hungry, but he refused to quit. Every night, he wrote project proposals, applied for grants, reached out to charities. One day, his startup, a distance learning app for kids from poor neighborhoods, won a small competition. It was his first big victory. Lorraine, in the hospital, smiled for the first time in years. Her son was no longer a child, he could change lives. Kevin began to receive small investments, gathered a team, worked day and night. He never forgot his mother. He visited every week, brought flowers, shared every small success. She kept inspiring him, even at her weakest. After a year, Kevin's app was used in dozens of schools. They landed a government contract. For the first time, Kevin saw his efforts pay off. His mother no longer had to worry about her medical bills. Everything Kevin achieved was thanks to his mother's faith. Lorraine always said, "You can do anything, as long as you never betray yourself." It became his motto. The worst was finally behind them. Success came suddenly. Kevin's company grew fast, investors poured in millions, and he was invited to conferences worldwide. He became famous, but remained the humble boy from Detroit. When asked how he'd achieved so much, he always answered, "Because of my mother." Lorraine now lived in a cozy house with a garden, Kevin's gift, something she never even dared to dream of. She didn't always understand the new world, but she was happy when Kevin brought children from poor families home. She baked pies, told stories, and saw in their eyes herself and her son. Kevin helped hundreds of children get an education, set up charities, built schools. He never forgot his old neighborhood. He rebuilt the library where he once studied, restored homes for single mothers. Despite his success, Kevin was always close to his mother. They often recalled the past, laughed and cried together. Lorraine still couldn't believe this life was theirs. She knew their true wealth was love and faith. The only things that helped them survive. Lorraine spent her final years in peace. She often sat on the porch with a book her son gave her, reflecting on life. Her body was worn by years of hard work, but her soul overflowed with gratitude. She knew her struggle was never in vain. Kevin would come, hug his mother, and whisper, "I made it because you always believed in me." They watched sunrises together, delighted in simple things, a quiet day, a warm embrace, the laughter of grandchildren. In the city, Kevin was known as a great philanthropist, but to Lorraine, he was always her boy who'd promised to make his mother happy. She taught him to love, forgive, persist, and believe in himself. That was the foundation of his success. When Lorraine was gone, newspapers wrote about the mother of a millionaire, but Kevin knew, for him, she was the true hero who changed his life. Her journey was hard, but that's what made his fate a beacon for others. Lorraine left behind the greatest legacy: love, faith, and resilience. That would live in the hearts of her children and all she helped. Her story became a symbol of how one woman's strength can change the world.